Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something really interesting today?
Absolutely. I always look forward to these deep dives.
Me too, especially when we've got some really practical stuff to explore. Today, we're all about leveling up your English speaking skills.
Ooh, I like that. Leveling up. Sounds like we're about to unlock some secret techniques.
Uh-huh. Kind of. We're actually taking inspiration from a snippet from the English Dose podcast. They've got this really cool approach to speaking fluency that I think we can all learn from.
Yeah, I was checking out that episode too, and what really struck me was how they addressed that common fear, when you understand English perfectly well, but then freeze up when you try to actually speak.
Oh, for sure. That happens to so many people. It's like your brain knows what to say, but your mouth just can't keep up.
Exactly. And English Dose makes this point that speaking out loud, like actually making those sounds every single day, is like the key that unlocks everything.
They really emphasize that daily practice, huh?
Yeah.
But it's got to be more than just like repeating random words over and over, right?
Right. It's not just about mindless repetition. There's a whole science behind it, involving how our brains process language. When we speak out loud, we're activating certain areas of the brain that don't really get a workout when we're just reading or listening.
So there's like a neurological reason why speaking out loud helps us learn better.
Totally. Think about it. Two key parts of the brain are Broca's area and Wernicke's area. Broca's area is all about speech production, like physically forming those words. Wernicke's is more about understanding language.
So when we speak out loud, we're engaging both of those areas at the same time. That makes sense.
Exactly. And by doing that, by speaking, we're strengthening the connection between the words we know and their actual meaning, which means we can recall and use them more easily in conversation.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this works. So like if I'm reading a news article online, would reading it out loud be a good way to practice?
That's definitely one way to do it. Even just picking a paragraph and reading it aloud can make a difference. But the English Dose folks also suggest starting even smaller, incorporating it into your daily routine with simple phrases and sentences.
Ooh, I like that. Kind of like micro practice throughout the day.
Exactly. Like imagine you're at a coffee shop. Instead of just thinking in your head, I need a latte.
Yeah.
Actually say it out loud. Can I get a large latte, please? Things like that.
That's a great tip. It might feel a little silly at first, but I can see how it would start to feel more natural over time. And speaking of practice, they also talk about the importance of repetition. We all know that practice makes perfect, but how does that actually apply to learning a language?
Well, it all comes down to muscle memory. Think of a pianist who can play a super complicated piece flawlessly. They didn't get there by just reading sheet music, right? They had to practice over and over again until their fingers just knew what to do.
Right, their fingers have that muscle memory built in.
Exactly. Speaking a language is kind of like that. By practicing those sounds out loud, you're training the muscles in your tongue, your lips, your vocal cords to work together smoothly until it becomes second nature.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about knowing the words, it's about being able to physically say them easily and naturally.
You got it.
And that actually leads me to one of their tips that I found super interesting. Reading aloud, they suggest picking a passage from a favorite book or even like a dramatic news headline, anything that grabs your attention, and really performing it, like giving it some energy.
I love that. That's a really fun way to keep things fresh and engaging. And you know what? It's not just about pronunciation.
But what else does it work on?
Well, when you read something aloud with emotion, you're working on your rhythm, your pacing, you can even experiment with different tones and inflections. It makes you a more dynamic speaker overall.
So it's like taking your speaking skills to a whole other level.
Absolutely. It adds a layer of expressiveness to your communication.
Okay, I have to confess there was one tip that made me hesitate a bit. The record yourself tip. I'm all about self-improvement, but I don't know if I enjoy listening to my own voice that much.
I totally get it. It can feel a little awkward at first, but honestly, it's such a powerful tool. When you record yourself speaking, you can become your own coach,
I guess it's like having an instant replay of your speaking performance.
Exactly. You can listen back and spot those little areas where you might want to improve. Maybe you notice a pronunciation mistake you hadn't realized, or maybe you hear some hesitation in your voice, those little pauses that can creep in.
I guess hearing those things objectively can really help you pinpoint what to work on.
It gives you that outside perspective on your own speaking that you wouldn't get otherwise.
It's like having your own personal language trainer on demand. So to sum it all up, the message here is pretty clear. If you want to become more fluent in English, make speaking out loud a consistent part of your routine. even if it's just in small doses throughout the day.
Exactly. It's about engaging your brain, building that muscle memory, and using those recordings to become your own coach.
I love that. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. What if you approached speaking English not as a chore, but as a fun daily challenge? Pick one of these tips that really sparks your interest and try incorporating it into your routine this week. See what happens.
I think that's a great idea. Experiment. Have fun with it.
You might be surprised how much you enjoy it and how quickly you start to see progress. And hey, that boosted confidence, that's a pretty awesome reward in itself, right? Until next time, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep those conversations flowing.
Happy speaking.